Hey, hello, Instagram and Facebook, hello, yes, as well. We are alive and we are live
It's good that we are alive.
at the same time. So
Yeah, it's Wednesday, middle of the week.
yeah,
We hope you are doing great. This today we want to talk about responsibility.
yes.
Mhm.
What, why it is important that we take responsibility for our lives and our energy. Um,
We discussed this a bit in a workshop here in Iceland last week about taking responsibility and being responsible for our own lives and how, when, and why it's important and how we do it. We figured out because we had a severe life exhaustion a few years ago that we were not really taking responsibility for ourselves and for our lives, and we were more like floating with the cannot really say floating with the energy. It was more like floating with what we thought were the expectations towards us, what we thought we should be doing, and what we thought was best for ourselves, which clearly it wasn't.
and I think the key word is there what we thought
Yeah.
was best and not what we felt was best. And I think if we look at our lives and if we try to describe a life where we are not taking responsibility for ourselves, that basically means that we are living our lives for other people. We are letting other people's expectations of us control how we live our lives. We are not following our hearts in what we want to do. We are not uh, building dreams and seeing them come true. And also we are, like we say, we are blamers. We like to point fingers at peoples and situations and make excuses about, or yeah, make excuses about why we cannot step up and be strong and responsible because other people have too much power over us, or we are victims of one thing or another in our life.
I think it's going about our day just being in the same constant cycle and not being really happy, not really looking at ourselves and if we are happy or if we are unhappy, and not always accepting our feelings, not really listening to our intuition. And if we cannot listen to our intuition, we cannot really listen to our heart.
And I think a life where we don't take responsibility is also a life of mistrust. It's a life where we don't trust other people, and we definitely don't trust ourselves because it's easier to stay in the comfort zone and not challenge ourselves. And we meet a lot of people that say, "Well, fine, everything is fine," and maybe it is fine, but our belief is that life is not supposed to be just fine. We are supposed to live our best life. And of course, we can have periods in our lives where it's fine. I mean, and that's just the slow times when we are digesting after a big project or whatever we have been going through. But if life is just constantly fine, then that means that not much is happening, I think. No. There's not much growth in a life that's just fine.
No, and I think it's as you said, if we are seeking a lot of confirmation from others, and we don't feel like we are determined and we know what is best for ourselves, then definitely we need to look at why. Because you don't have to have an opinion of everything, but at least have opinion of what's happening in your life. And I think it's also, as you said, about trust, not trusting others to work with us. When we, because through everything that we have done, healing has been a big part of that. And also just voicing the things that we need to, things that we haven't really maybe trusted anyone to hear before, because there is so much going on in our mind. And often it's enough for us to release it just by saying it.
Yeah. And I think focusing on other people is and helping other people is like a professional hazard of spiritual practitioners, because we feel so strongly what our purpose in life is, that we are here to help, that we often hide behind helping other people, because as long as we are focusing on others, we don't have to focus within and to our own hearts. And our mantra is that we are never better practitioners than the work that we put in ourselves. So we need to do the work to be able to help others do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And we have seen and met so many practitioners that just burn out. They just spend and spend and spend their energy on other people, but they don't, I think both don't know how to manage their own energy, and they don't give any time or energy into reflecting and recharging and just working on their own wounds and blockages.
Yeah. I think for us, having the experience of having no energy, like literally no energy, not more than just getting out of bed.
Maybe go to the toilet.
Maybe, and then to the couch, and then, sit in front of the TV. And this is something we did for months because we just weren't able to do anything else. The energy was at 0 level. We completely emptied the battery, and it took a long time to recharge.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for us to really be conscious about our energy and take responsibility for it and manage our energy. And also not just being conscious about what we are doing and if we are happy and if we are doing what gives us joy and so on, but also take responsibility for the energy each and every day. My own energy is my energy, and no one is allowed to leave anything in my, in my energy field or
feed from it.
Yeah. And this is also taking responsibility to manage our own energy, to make sure we think about the spiritual hygiene, that we cleanse our energy fields, that we ground ourselves, and that I'm not very fond of using the word protection, but that we manage our energy in some way so that we feel that we are comfortable and protected in a way, because I don't want to block any of my energy going out, because I'm sending something good.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be sending something good, but it's not in a way that drains me, but it's just, connecting with other people through love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's something that we often fall into. It's losing energy, because we are sensitive people. We are very, of course, very sensitive to everything that's happening around us. Even it can be something in your personal life or in the personal lives of the people that are closest to you. It can just be something that's happening out in the world, somewhere out in society or wherever, and we are very sensitive to that. So that it is so important for us to be able to manage how that affects us. And there are several ways to do that. Like Alma said, we have to be very conscious about clearing our energy fields. Sometimes it's not enough to do it just once a day. We have to do it maybe a few times during the day to ground ourselves. And if we find that we are losing our balance, then we have to go back and ground ourselves. And I'm not shy about using protection. I think that's fine, because we have because it's not about shielding you from anything. It's not about that. It's just about managing your energy and protecting your energy field so you don't get anything into it that you don't want to have there. And there are many ways to do that. We can use our heart energy, which I think is the most powerful thing we can use to just surround ourselves with to protect us. But we also have to give the world a very clear message about what is allowed and what is not allowed in our energy field.
That's true. And that's taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Just setting clear boundaries with our energy. And we can choose. I mean, for us sensitive people, we can choose not to invite all those energies in. We can still work with, healing, and we can work with a collective consciousness, and we can send healing, and obviously it can impact us in a way, but it should not control our lives.
No.
And we should not be leaking energy because there is something difficult happening in the world. Or in other people's lives. Of course, it impacts us when the people closest to us have difficulties, but still, when we cannot be responsible for their energy, we need to make sure that we take care of our own energy. And always remember that we cannot support anyone with an empty battery, and we need to recharge it. And that's what we do when we take responsibility for our energy.
And I think it's also very important to realize that, for example, we don't watch news. We don't watch the news broadcast. We maybe skim through headlines, but that doesn't mean we are not aware energetically of what's happening in the world. And I think because we are not allowing what has been written from whatever point of view, because there's always a point of view, even though everybody states that they're neutral. Nobody is really.
We are human.
We're all just human. So if we just energetically take a look at what's happening and try to understand the purpose behind it, it can be painful, of course. And some things are very hard to understand, at least now, but maybe the lessons will be learned afterwards. I don't know. Hopefully. Yeah. But what we need to understand about being responsible for our lives is that we have to realize that we make choices in our lives every single day. We make choices about how to spend our energy, in what we put our time, to what people we wish to be around, to where we want to work, to where we want to live, what we want to eat. I mean, we take thousands and thousands of decisions every day. And if we are not connected to our hearts, we are taking decisions with our heads. And sometimes our heads are very good at letting us escape responsibility. My head can be an expert of finding ways of how can I do this without challenging myself.
Yeah, and we can talk ourselves down in our mind for a lot. So it's also, being conscious about where our energy is and how we can change that. And that's something we talked a lot about in the workshop last week. We have been talking about having the same workshop in English in March.
I think.
Yeah, I think 10th to 12th of March.
Yes, and we will tell you more about that.
Yeah.
But I think it's always good to dive into the simple things that can make our lives better, because spirituality is not about just being sitting in meditation or doing yoga or ceremonies every day always. It's just about being aware of how you live your life. And your biggest spiritual guide is your heart, because your heart is connected to everything. So we have to learn to listen to our hearts, and that's the basic of spirituality.
And always remember that we are making choices, as you said, thousands of choices every day. And that is our responsibility to take. Those choices are ours, and we are making these choices.
And then when we really take responsibility, we look back at our lives and we analyze and try to realize why we made the choices that we did make. And we understand the choices and we learn from the choices, and we make sure that we don't make that kind of choice again.
Because we are often the ones that hurt ourselves the most. So we want to be kind to ourselves and follow our heart. And to listen to our heart, we need to let go of so many other things that, are are eager to control our mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's enough for now.
yeah.
Yeah.
We see you next Friday, next
Next Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yes.
Thank you for today.
Bye.